Armin. We would love to talk to you, but we need some questions. So if there's anyone's got any questions, we'd love to answer them. No answers, no questions. Max, I think it's time to go.
Yeah. Was there a lot of comics set up between you two on the set of Deep Space Nine, like jokes or?
Was there a lot of comics set up between the two of us on Deep Space Nine? I'll let Max answer the question for himself, but for me, this question was asked sometimes. Our set was not set up that way. How do I put it? That's the wrong way to put it. We went to work. We did our work. We had a good time. It was like any workplace. We had our fun. But I hear from stories from the other shows that they had practical jokes. They fooled each other. We didn't do that. We went to work and we did the best work we could.
Yeah, I agree. It was. We were in these big heads and they were very hot. We wanted to get done as soon as possible. So we didn't joke around.
We were the jokes.
We didn't joke around too much. Just not us. No, I remember I was doing some spy stuff. Rom was sort of doing some spy stuff when the Cardassians retook and the Dominion retook the station. And I had to jump through, I think I was being chased and I had to jump through a Jeffries tube. So you just saw the back of me and they said it would be an ass shot. And our camera operator, Chris Cosgrove, remember Chris?
Yeah, Chris.
When he heard it was going to be an ass shot of Max, he said, bring out the wide-angle lens. But that was them being funny, not us being funny. So.
It all comes from the captain on any show, whether there's a captain or not. It comes from the lead actor. It's what we call the number one name on the call sheet. If the number one actor on the call sheet wants to have a good time at work and practical jokes and stuff like that, that usually happens on the set. Our number one actor, our captain, was a lovely man, is a lovely man, but wasn't interested in that sort of stuff, and we didn't want it either. So we didn't share in that. I heard lots of wonderful comic stories about the other shows, but we have none. At least Max and I don't have any. Any other questions? I thought I saw some hands. Yes. I tell you what, I'm glad to do that. And then the lady behind you, you'll be next. You'll be next. Hold on. So the story that, I'll do this very quickly. I was called in for, I think at 4:30 in the morning for makeup, which is about an hour. I was called in at 4, which is an hour before I usually was called, which was 5 a.m. And that particular morning, we had an earthquake. We had a large earthquake in Los Angeles, and everything shook.
It was January 17th, 1994.
Thank you, sir. Were you there?
Were
you in the trailer?
No, but I went through the earthquake.
No, you went through the earthquake.
It woke me up while you were at work.
Well, I was at work. But the nice thing was, you know, Max and I live in the valley, but where Paramount was located, it didn't shake that much. It was still a big earthquake, but not as much as the valley shook. And Andy Robinson called his wife. Yeah, this is just about the time cell phones are sort of coming into existence. And he called his wife, and they live up in Hollywood Hills, so they were pretty nothing. I think they lost a picture frame or something. And I eventually called my wife up and found out that the house had been shook a lot. And she was sort of distraught. And I decided to go home immediately. That was at about 5:30 in the morning. At this point, Karen, my makeup lady, had already glued me into my head. Hadn't painted it yet, but I was glued into my head. And I said, I'm going home. And they said, second AD said to me, you can't go home. And it's true, I couldn't. I had a contract with Paramount that said I could not leave the lot in the head. And I said, I'm going home. He said, you can't leave home. I said, stop me. So I got in the car. I knew I should have brought my glasses. I got in the car and started to drive home. Now, the traffic lights in LA were all down, and people were being very good about letting the person on the right go through an intersection when they had to go through an intersection. So I got to an intersection, and there was a 4x4 in front of me, somebody in a Ford truck, and he saw me in my regalia, and this is what I saw. That's my story about the little girl. The lady behind, yes.
I want to know, how long did it take to learn how to speak around the teeth?
How long did it take to speak around the teeth? Max, do you want to start?
Well, I think we'd both done Ferengi on Next Generation, so I had experience with the teeth. I had the same teeth. I played 2 Ferengi on Next Generation, 3rd season, Captain's Holiday. I played a Ferengi named Sobak. I played a Ferengi in the 5th season named Par Lenore in an episode called The Perfect Mate, and I played Rom. He never changed, Michael Westmore, our makeup supervisor, never changed my teeth. So if they ever needed dental records to identify one of those 3 Ferengi bodies, they would be so confused. So it's good. I guess those Ferengi are still alive, I hope. The teeth. It took a few days. I remember when they were first in, I tried to pretend they weren't there, and I think...
Didn't your voice come from the teeth?
Yeah, I think if you stick your fingers in your mouth, it's kind of hard to let your natural voice come through. For me, he had a little snaggle tooth I had that stuck out, and it hurt me. So I had to keep
not
my
as
mouth...
much as it hurt Chase.
I really had to keep my mouth open and try to avoid getting hit by that tooth. And speaking from the back of the throat with my tongue and my teeth and trying to leave my lips out of it as much as possible. I discovered over a few days that was the best way to make the sound come out and be understood. It had to be understood, yeah.
As Max said, we had worked in the teeth before on Next Generation, and I didn't really have a problem with the teeth at all, although several years later someone asked me to do the voice for a game, and I had the teeth at home and I put them in. I couldn't talk at all. I said, how the hell did I do this?
Max, about 10 years ago in Atlanta, you had your teeth with you doing the show, and you sang Georgia on My Mom.
I don't remember that. I don't remember. But I do love that song.
Any other questions? Am I missing somebody? Yes.
Would you do Richard III again for us?
Yeah. Next.
Like many actors on Star Trek, I have a classical background, which uses a wide-angle lens. And for years now, I've been sometimes doing this speech from Henry VI, Part 3, of Richard of Gloucester, before he's Richard III. And so, with your kind permission. Guys in the back, can you turn off the video? Say there is no kingdom then for Richard. I'll make my heaven in a lady's lap, and deck my body in gay ornaments, and bewitch sweet ladies with my words and looks. But love forswore me in my mother's womb. She did corrupt frail nature with some bribe, to shrink mine arm up like a withered shrub, to make an envious mountain on my back, where sits deformity to mock my body, to shape my legs of an unequal size, to disproportion me in every part like to a chaos. And am I then a man to be beloved? Dead. Since this earth affords no joy to me, I'll make my heaven to dream upon the crown. And yet, I know not how to get the crown, for many lives stand between me and home. Well, I can smile and murder whilst I smile, and cry content to that which grieves my heart. I can add colors to the chameleon, change shapes with Proteus for advantages, and set the murderous Machiavel to school. Can I do this and cannot get a crown? Tut! Were it further off, I will pluck it down.
And if you look at the Ferengi first episode, you'll see that the Ferengi, me, walks like this. Any other questions? Thank you, by the way. Thank you.
Do you ever find yourself quoting the rules of acquisition?
The question is, do I ever find myself quoting the rules of acquisition? Never. That's a yes.
Actually, I don't know how well I remember the story, but it must have been around the time I started being Rom, a couple of years in maybe, and I was in the Fairfax district, Los Angeles, and I was hungry, and I went to this sandwich stand, and I thought that sandwich would be nice with a glass of milk. So I said, I'd really like that sandwich, but can you, I don't see milk on the menu. He said, we don't serve milk. And I looked behind, and there was a quart of milk right there. I said, there's milk right there. He said, that's for coffee. I said, well, couldn't you pour that milk in a cup and sell me a glass of milk? He said, I don't have a register key to ring it up on. I said, pour the milk in the cup, give me the sandwich, ring it up under Coca-Cola, 7-Up, whatever you have to do. But that's what you should do. He said, I can't do that. I said, where's the profit? And he gave me the milk. Those words actually came out of my mouth.
Was there ever a scene in Star Trek that you were either extremely reluctant to do or outright refused to do?
Was there ever a scene in Star Trek that you're ever reluctant to do or outright refused to do? We had that.
Yes. Max didn't, but I did. I can't tell you which episode it's from, although some of you may be able to help me because it's a relatively famous scene. Root beer, Quark and Garrick. Andy and I had gotten together before Monday. We shot that on a Monday. So during the weekend, we had talked about the scene a great deal, and we thought there was a lot more to the scene than perhaps when you first read it was there. And James Conway was the director, and he said, okay, well, let's, on Monday, he said, let's go through this once, and we did it. And he looked at the way we did it, and he said, it's not funny. And we said, yeah, it's not funny. It's meant to be something else. And he said, I can't shoot it if it's not funny. You guys have to make it funny. And I said, we don't want to make it funny. And he was very nice about it. We had an artistic argument. It wasn't a shouting argument, it was an artistic argument. And he finally said, and I knew where he was coming from. He had gotten his marching orders from the producer-directors, and they wanted it a certain way. And he worked for them. We all worked for them. And he said, I'm going to have to ask Ira, the showrunner, to come down and decide. I said, fine. Whatever Ira wants us to do, I'll be glad to do, but I really think it's better this way. And Ira came down with the other writers, and understand, in my 7 years on Star Trek, this is the only time this ever happened. And he asked what the problem was. James explained it. Ira said, can you show us the way Jim wants to do it? And we did it. We're good actors. We're able to do it that way. And then he said, can I see it the way Armin and Andy wants to do it? And we did it that way. And he turned to Jim and said, shoot it Armin's way. The question is, are there any projects that we're going to be in the future? No. And I help run a theater in Los Angeles. I'm beginning a project to work on Merchant of Venice. So that's a project I'm working on, and a number of other smaller things as well. So, but no TV, as Max says. No.
Which scene?
It's called Antaeus. Antaeus is the name of the theater. Yeah.
What was it like working with Michael Dorn? Did the atmosphere change when he joined the cast?
The ratings changed when Michael Dorn. The question was, what was it like working with Michael Dorn, and did this feeling on the set change? The ratings changed, as I said. People began to give us a second look, and we got our audience that we eventually ended up with thanks to Michael Dorn. The show owes Michael Dorn a great sense of gratitude, because people said, "Oh, Worf's on the show. Let's take a second look because we don't much care for it now." And they came and saw, and the things that we said earlier in the day, they recognized, and they stayed to continue to watch. Michael, like Terry, were both party people, and so there's a great deal of joy that he brought to the set. Michael and I are very close friends. Really now, since the show finished, that's when we became close friends. It was just fun. It was fun having him there.
Do you feel there was any less of that divide that you were talking about earlier with Michael, since you also have to wear makeup and stuff too? Or?
No. The Klingons are not the Ferengi. The Klingons are not the Ferengi. The Klingons, no. Yeah.
I thought Quark and Odo, the scenes with those two characters were great. Have you and Renee ever worked together before that?
The question is, did Renee and I ever work together before? The answer is yes. We had done a play called Petrified Forest, a theater called Los Angeles Theater Center in Los Angeles. And in that play, I just moved to LA. I had a relatively smaller role. Renee was the lead, and he was less than friendly when we worked together. I have to say, we have a love affair now. The story turns out well. But it does affect the Quark-Odo relationship. So he did this play, and we did this play, and I was pretty much finished with all my work when he went on. And there was this spiral staircase. I would have to descend to go to the dressing room. He would be coming from the dressing room going up, and we would meet in the center, and some conversation was, I warmed him up for you or something like that. And he wasn't very friendly, So, when I got cast as Odo, when I got cast as Quark, I thought, oh, Quark's not supposed to like Odo. That should be easy. And then next to Max, there is no one that I love more from Deep Space Nine than Renee. And we became incredibly good friends. And so what you saw was that love-hate relationship that we established. That originally they meant us to be at odds with each other, but because Renee and I became so in love with each other, that the love shines through as well. So, but we had worked before, and it wasn't the best of experiences. And if you ask Renee, he probably doesn't remember, but I do. And I hold a grudge a lot longer than that. Yes.
Voice acting. I know you do voice acting. No, no. I don't have no.
That's a no, right?
No. Yeah, that's a final answer. No. Yeah, no.
I do a lot of voice acting. BioShock is perhaps a lot of people. That's a game where I played Andrew Ryan, which is one of my favorite things I've ever done. I was a long-time cartoon character, General Scar, on a number of cartoon series. I do a lot of voiceover acting. I'm very good with accents. I'm very good with changing my voice. So I get to do a lot of that, and which I'm grateful for. So sort of a second career. I want to get some more questions, but before I take it, I'm always conscious of this, and I don't want to be. So I'd like at least the next 3 questions to be questions for Max. Leave me out of the equation.
Oh, well, I mean, I did do some kind of game, actually.
You told me a few years ago
Yeah.
you were a big baseball fan.
I'm a big baseball fan.
Who were
Yeah.
you rooting for this year?
Who was I rooting for this year? Well, in the postseason, I was rooting for the Yankees because I'm from New York. So they got eliminated. Were the Devil Rays in the? Yeah, I was rooting for the Rays. They changed.
As long as they wear pinstripes.
I was rooting for the Rays. They're no longer the Devil Rays.
No,
They're the Rays.
Right.
I was rooting for
Like
the.
the devil part.
I was rooting for the Rays, of course. Yeah.
How much time do we have, Mark? None. I'm going to take one question for Max, okay? Some question for Max.
That's okay.
Yes, there's one right there.
I played a villain in a horror film. His name was Rumpelstiltskin. And, thank you. And it was directed by the man who directed Leprechaun. And for those of you who know Leprechaun, I think there's 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 Leprechauns. So we were thinking maybe there'd be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 Rumpelstiltskins, and there was only one. There was only one. But I would like to. I didn't like the way that movie came out, and I would like to play that character a second time. Which is why it's a shame there's no Rumpelstiltskin 2. Yeah.
Did we ever do a take where you didn't want another take?
No. But I would like a whole movie. I would like
One large, big oversight.
I would like the whole movie to be done over again, my way. Even the director didn't like the movie because it wasn't done his way.
And he was the director.
And he was the director. Yeah. Anyway. So.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Armin Shimmerman, Max Podimchik, on. Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
And as I recall, there was a shot they needed to get in before the end of the day, and we were losing the light from the sun. And it was just a shot to establish that Odo was driving a Jeep and helping us escape. That's all. We had no lines, we had nothing to worry about. We just had to sit in the Jeep, and the Jeep had to turn the corner. And the camera was on a track, a long track that has to be totally smooth. So we did one take. We had nothing to do. There was no responsibility on our part except to be in the Jeep and look
Funny.
Yeah. And so we did one take, we did two takes, the camera kept screwing up, 3 takes, 4 takes, 5 takes. And Aaron starts to sing, 3 Ferengi in a Jeep, and we are in trouble deep. Gotta get back to Deep Space Nine, gotta get back to our own time, sound up. So, Aaron Eisenberg, yeah.
You know, Aaron was always older than you ever thought he was because he has a kidney problem and kept his height very short. So he was in his mid-30s when he started doing Deep Space Nine, and he just was very funny. He was a great guy, and he and Sirach had a terrific relationship. Although Aaron was twice Sirach's age. Yeah.
Now that it's been so many years, I guess nobody will come to the rescue. Was there ever anything on the set that you said, "Wow, I gotta have that and take it home with me"? Like
I think Max thought Chase Masterson.
Like a dollar strip or a little strip of Latin, or something that wound up in your pocket that made you shoot him? Either one of you.
Yeah, I just remember at the very end, there was like a week to go, and I said to Buddy, who are our prop guys?
Bud and Pat.
And Pat, I said to Pat, I said, can I start taking stuff now? He said, no, wait 4 days, whatever it was. He said, just wait, and then you can take anything you want. And I came back, I was there that day, everything was gone. That's what I remember.
The Starfleet people came in with trucks and hydraulic tools and took anything that they could rip off. The Ferengi took nothing. Not because we didn't have the opportunity, we certainly had the opportunity. It's that, at least for me, when I heard that the promenade was being dismantled, I made a conscious effort to say, I'm not going back in there now. I'm not going back in there. I'm not going to have it in my memory what it looks like being taken apart. I want it to be the way you guys remember it, the way I want to remember it, which is pristine and it looked like a Disney ride. And when I walked in the first day, I was in Disneyland. It was incredible, and I didn't want to go and see it when it was being dismantled. So I don't have anything from the set. I may have a chip. Maybe I do have a chip somewhere, but that was long before we took it apart. And occasionally, we were told we couldn't have the makeup either, but obviously I took a couple of those heads too. So as much as I'm trying to stand up here and being a stand-up guy, I did take a chip, I did take a couple heads.
Do you know by any chance if any of the Deep Space Nine seasons are going to be available on Blu-ray?
On Blu-ray? I don't know. Max?
That would be good for us, wouldn't it? I think it's
It's called residuals, not profits. Yeah. Gone. When they opened it up, there were 2 inaugural festivities. I was invited to both. One was groundbreaking, and Frakes and me and Rick Berman, and I think Michael Dorn was there. We broke ground, and that was very nice. And the head of Paramount Parks was there, and the Hilton Hotel was something from the Hilton Hotel was there, and we broke ground. When the experience opened, there was a huge party. Were you there, Max?
No.
Then they had a lot of people from our show, Next Generation there. Big party, everybody had free drinks at Quark's. And we got to see the experience, the show. Really quite nice. And they were very nice about putting us up in hotels, and they paid for our travel to Las Vegas. It was very nice indeed. And when they were closing, they were very kind about asking me if I wanted to come to the closing of Quark's Bar, but that I didn't accept. Somewhat in the same vein of what I just told you about not wanting to see something closed up. Yeah.
What was your favorite episode that you were in of Deep Space Nine?
Max?
Favorite episode that I was in? My favorite episode that I was in is an episode called Facets, which is a Dax episode where you were one of the Dax hosts, yeah, where she has all her hosts come to this.
And in my case, hostess.
and there was a B story, which is Nog wanting to go take an entrance exam to Starfleet Academy, and Quark sabotages his chances. He sabotages the test, and Rom figures that out, and he catches Quark coming down a corridor, and he's lying in wait for him, and he grabs him by the collar and throws him up against the wall and says, "If you ever do anything to hurt my son again, I will burn the bar to the ground." And that kind of really bugged me. And the director said, "Cut, moving on." And I said, "Don't I get another take of that?" I liked that, and I didn't like shooting it at all, Little Green Man. Well, I like shooting some of it, but I just like the way it looks. I thought it came out. I didn't have faith in a director at all, but I like the way it looks. So, Little Green Man is nice to watch.
And for me, Far Beyond the Stars. That's my favorite.
I don't have a question as much as I wanted to pass along a hello from my daughter to Max. We met you in 2002 in Raleigh.
In Raleigh, Durham? Yeah.
That's correct. And you were there with Aaron. And my daughter stood up and proudly announced that her birthday and your birthday were the same. And you asked, "Well, why when's your birthday?" And it was November 12th. She had to guide you to that.
When is my birthday?
Well, let you pass it. It's November 12th.
It's November 12th. And that's your daughter's birthday.
That's her birthday.
Because online, if you go to some websites say it's November 11th.
Oh. Well,
Which is, it's better to be early than late, though, I think. But it is November 12th. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, she was 11 at the time. We were very proud to have that link with you. You sat with her for a little bit and talked about how she became a child from fosterhood and in our
Wow.
family, and you were just very excited to be a part of that with her. So
Wow.
she says hello.
Thank you very much.
Married for 5 years.
Whoa. Say hello to her from me. Thank you.
Yes. The one that hires me next. Question is, what is your favorite series besides Deep Space Nine?
That's running. You mean you talking about a series? That's
Answer it
on,
any way you like.
Are you talking about a series that's on right now? Or like not like I Love Lucy from no. And does it have to be science fiction?
Let's work it out.
What kind? Does it have to be science fiction?
No.
But something that's on the air right now. It's not the answer I wanted you to give me. Right now, what do I watch right now? You know, can I tell you a series? Oh man, what do I watch?
This is how I bought my house. I had lots and lots of overtime.
I do enjoy that. There's a sitcom I like called The Big Bang Theory. would have said that immediately, and you wouldn't have had to lie down there, but I didn't know that was the correct answer. The Big Bang Theory. Final answer. Yeah.
Run a bar before, and if not, are there ways that you would like to run a bar?
I've never run a bar. My wife was a bartender, but I was never a bartender. I was a short order cook and I was a waiter. I was never a bartender. Is there ways I'd like to run a bar? Profitably. I don't know. I don't drink that much, so it's not like I would drink the profits. It's a good question. I've never been asked that before, and I have no answer for you. That I have thought about. The question is, if we had creative control over our characters, what would you like to have done with them?
For me, you know, I was in the pilot. I had a one-day contract, and I thought I'd never see him again. Then I was in an episode, and I was very happy about that, and I thought I'd never see him again. Then I was in another episode, and I thought I'd never see him again. Who thought? Oh, look, I'm seeing you today! And they took that character, Ram, further than I could have possibly imagined. You know, what they did with him, they took, you know, he was under his brother's thumb, and they had him grow. He formed a union. He stood up to his brother for his son. He stood up for himself and the people working in the bar with the union. And he still loved his brother. And he got lead of the Dabo girl. He saw her naked. And then he became Grand Negus of the Ferengi Empire. And I still see you.
And I still love you.
So I couldn't have imagined anything greater.
Max has been telling this story for a long time. When we first met, before either one of us were cast, we both knew that he wasn't called Ron then. Max is right. We knew that the brother was going to be a major character. We always knew that. We knew that from the day we auditioned, Max.
We met at the audition. That's right. We did. Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying, and it's very nice and humble of you. But we always knew that Ron was going to be there a lot.
I did not. You had that wisdom.
Yeah, because we're the only short people there. But the answer is, I actually often went to the writers and would beg them, listen, I can do whatever you want. I'm a good actor. Whatever you want is fine. I can do it. Just tell me what his IQ is. That's all I want to know. Because in one episode, this is Quark. In other episodes, I stand in front of a whole bunch of Klingons and I can outwit them. I just tell me what my IQ is. That's all I really want to know. So artistically, they gave me a lot of wonderful things, as Max is saying. They were great to both of us. But I would have liked to have seen Quark just be one IQ. That's all. It's just sort of have a level of competence that I could depend upon. It just fluctuated from episode to episode. And if there was a sameness to it, it's only what the actor brought. And that's a credit to me, I suppose, but I would have liked a little bit of help from the writers on that. That said, no one is a bigger fan of the writers than Max and I. They did a great job for both of us. They wrote incredible stories. And what they did with our characters was phenomenal. Many times, people have asked me, when Max isn't standing around, wouldn't you have liked to have been the Negus? And I go, no, they picked the right brother for Negus. They're brilliant writers, brilliant. And I don't smoke.
That was a period piece in Deep Space
Thank you. The question is, do I enjoy doing period pieces? You know, I've never thought about it, but I shook my head because it's an immediate reaction. Yes, I am primarily a Elizabethan scholar. You see me as an actor. That is what I do to make a living. That's how I pay my bills. But my heart, my passion is the study of Elizabethan times. So, in a sense, I think I must indeed prefer doing period pieces on TV and film and in the theater because I must be wired that way. So, although I've never thought about it, thank you for giving me an insight to myself. I think I do indeed like period pieces, yeah. Yeah. How much makeup do I have to put on, do we have to put on in order to get ready for the show? A ton.
I always say that we start 4 a.m. Monday morning and we're ready to shoot by Thursday afternoon.
And if a call was at 5 o'clock in the morning, Max would wander in about 5:45.
No, not that late.
All right, 5:40. It was 2 hours of makeup, and the makeup itself didn't weigh very much, but the application process was very time-consuming, which actually is a good thing, because we got to do our homework while we were getting made up.
What were your initial reactions when you saw the concept design of what you were and the first time you saw yourself in the thing?
Good question. What was it?
I wasn't done with the last question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I could show up a little later because he had to be glued all the way down. I had a little skirt. Does everybody remember?
You can't get Max out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning. You can't. I've been there. You can't.
You see this skirt here? A little flange, whatever, curtain behind my head. That was me cheating. Because I wasn't the series regular, I cheated a little bit. That was, so Armin had glue. Armin's headpiece came all the way down his neck. No air could get up there, so he suffered for his art. Yeah. But my head ended around there, and there was
It still ends about there.
And when they started shooting Ferengi, they discovered that they could see the hair back there. So that's why they put a little skirt behind there. Now, when they continued shooting, is this too much information? When they continued shooting, they found out that even with the hair back there, even with the skirt, they could still see stuff. So that's why Armin, as a series regular who had to be on every week, got glued all the way. I'm so glad it was you. Got glued all the way down and no ventilation coming in. So I could be a little later show up. Was what I'm saying, because I didn't have to get glued all the way down. They just had to pop that little thing on, and I was done. Yeah.
Ask me the question again.
Your initial reactions to the concept design and the first time you actually saw yourself?
Of course, the initial concept design had already been foisted upon us in TNG. And I was I saw what a Ferengi was when I went to work for the first time. And in fact, Max's story about the flange, the curtain, was, I'm sitting there when they realized that it didn't match, that the costume and the head didn't match. But I saw that in TNG, not in Deep Space Nine. And I knew the concept was going to be the same when I went on to Deep Space Nine. But it was startling, certainly, and the original makeup for TNG, Max, was the same for you. This was all one piece. It's all one mask, you know. But in TNG, when we started, there were 7 pieces. So this was a piece, this was a piece, this was a piece. I think there was something else. And then the helmet, which is the ears, and the brow. It's all a helmet. And that was always in one piece. In hindsight, I think, as much as I love the Ferengi, I believe Mr. Westmore, who created the design of the makeup, made them too comical looking. Now I know the Ferengi are comic, but I think they're just a little too comic for what I always hope to do with Quark. So Max may think that they're perfect. I think they're perfect, but I would have liked them a little less comical. Because you can't stare at that makeup for more than 30 seconds without smiling. I wish it had been a little less comical. That's all.
They did have, there was three pieces, a cheek, and then a nose, and then a cheek, and they blended that. So that on DS9 was one. You were the first Ferengi, though. I just want to let you know that.
Yes, but you were the best Ferengi.
No, but you were the... if so, only because of the groundwork that you laid.
That may be so, Max, but I could never fill your shoes.
What was that episode? Episode number 7 of Next Generation. The first 3 Ferengi were there, and you were one of them. The last outpost, yeah.
You win. Yes. They pop out. Like Halloween teeth. Odo, Renee, could not eat. Because his makeup came right down to his lips. Ours stops at the nose. All of this is Max. All of this is Armin. So we could eat fine. In fact, Renee used to hate me, but I could take the teeth out. Screw him. Yeah. Any scenes that you wanted to work with anybody?
I wish I did more with Andy Robinson. I had a little scene with him once, and I really enjoyed it, and it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would like to have worked with Garrick more.
Yeah. I always, I loved Mary Kay, who played Grilka. So although we only had 2 episodes together, I would have liked more episodes with Mary Kay, because she was just a delight to be with. But there were many guest stars that who I never worked with, who worked with the Starfleet people, who didn't work with the Ferengi. So there were a lot. But I've said this 1,000 times. He's heard it. He's bored with it. So you can do with it as you like. But I couldn't have made it for 7 years without Max. Couldn't. Impossible. Yeah. How did I like working with Ron Perlman in Beauty and the Beast? Before I did, thank you. Before I did Star Trek and most everything else, I was a young actor from New York, and I got a recurring role on Beauty and the Beast. And all I really had to do was this. And if you don't know what I'm talking about. But Ron Perlman was my role model. I learned to work, how to work in front of the camera. And he's a brilliant actor and a great guy. And very quickly, when I got cast as Quark, he was one of the first phone calls I made. I said, Ron, how do you do it? How do you be a series regular on a TV show and all that makeup? And he said, Armin, think of the money. So I do. But he was brilliant, and I just saw him a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to have lunch in about 2 weeks or so. Yeah.
There's a Star Trek books out recently. They've been writing Trek books for years. How do you feel about the continuation? They got Cisco. They are continuing him in DS9 books. Now, how do you feel about the continuation of DS9 in the novel sense?
In the what sense?
In the novels.
They're still writing books about DS9.
But you're still the Magus.
Continuation. Or do you think there's going to be a Quark book, like, coming out for it?
Do we get money for that when they rent?
We don't. If you write one, you do.
We don't lose any money though. think it would be. I think it's great.
I have no problem with continuing saga. Star Trek is a mythology. It's a modern day mythology, and we all sit around the campfire and watch the glow from the TV set. And in mythology, people make up stories about the mythical characters, and it goes whichever way it goes. You cannot contain a myth, and so stories go one way, fan magazines go another way. If they should do more scripted episodes, that's a third way. As long as the myth keeps growing on its own, which it seems to be doing, I'm all for that.
You've written a Star Trek novel. Is that what that is? The 34th Rule?
34th Rule.
Is that considered a Star Trek novel?
It should be. It should be. But the truth of the matter is I didn't write it.
Don't tell them that.
I know. David George wrote it. Eric and I and David plotted it out together, and I assumed I was going to write it with David, but David just showed up one day and said, here it is, all done. And so I said, okay, great. I've written other novels. I did write those, but that one I will say I didn't write. Yeah.
I just had a comment that I've gone back and watched Deep Space Nine again after I watched it originally, and I think when you watch it second, third, fourth time, it actually gets better and better. You notice things.
Like ripe cheese.
Yes. It actually sort of reminds me of like some of the older movies that maybe weren't advertised or did so well when they first came out, and then people watched them over and over, and now they're like classics that maybe Deep Space Nine is.
I hope so. We always considered ourselves the stepchild of Star Trek. Our existence is between the enormously successful and very popular Next Generation, and then as far as business was concerned, the groundbreaking show for UPN. So we were the stepchild in between. I'm prejudiced. You can all think what you think, but I believe that our episodes of Deep Space Nine are the best Star Trek that is out there. In my mind, the question is, was there a divide between the Starfleet actors and the non-Starfleet actors? Max, you can. I'd love to hear your answer to this. But from my way of thinking, yes. Yes, there was a difference between the Starfleet actors and the aliens. And that the Starfleet actors, great people, but they saw that, and we were treated great. We were treated terrifically. But there was always, hey, the word is called